We are in the exclusive neighborhood of beautiful Beverly Hills in sunny California. Home to the heirs and heiresses, entertainment moguls, authors, and of course, movie stars. What brings us to one of the most famous zip codes in the world is a chance to meet a screen siren, a diva, a supremely talented actress, and someone who is nothing if not a legend in her own right. Presenting Sharon Stone. Hello and welcome to Dimensions. I'm at the beautiful Tanzor in Beverly Hills, California, the home of numerous film stars, but none more glamorous than our guest today, Sharon Stone. Sharon, thank you for being with us. It's a delight to see you.
It's a pleasure.
It's wonderful to see you looking so glamorous as always, but is that a lot of pressure when you go out? Can you put on your warm-up suit and run out to the grocery store?
You know, in Beverly Hills, we're very used to seeing celebrities, and it affords me to have a very relaxed, simple life here.
So you don't feel the pressure of paparazzi or...
I wouldn't say it's pressure, Vijay, because, you know, it's been my life for now the majority of my life. So I would say really it's the way that my life is, and we're very used to it. We understand that just is life. And of course there's a lot of gratitude that my life has come to be what it was meant to be, and that I'm fulfilling my destiny. And I think my family and friends understand that is my journey.
I'm going to take you back and talk about your growing up in a little town in Pennsylvania, Meadville. Mm-hmm. And what was it like growing up in a small town in Pennsylvania?
I think a lot about the snow, the short summer, the very hot fall, the rainy spring. Because of this extreme climate, it's a very sturdy people and a very thoughtful people, a very compassionate people. People actually help each other. I would say that in this moderate climate, you have a less compassionate person. You don't see people who are as willing to help each other as you do in the place that I came from. When you come to this kind of climate where everything is always fine, I find that people become less thoughtful of their neighbor. People become more self-absorbed, less caring of another.
More into what they're doing themselves.
Yes. So I am grateful to have been born of this sturdier stuff. And though it was difficult and I wouldn't want to live in that climate all the time, I am grateful to have had that.
Now, at a young age, you won a beauty pageant, Miss Crawford County, and then went on as a candidate for Miss Pennsylvania.
Yes.
What made you get into...
And before that, when I was even younger, there was a festival called the Tulip Festival that I won, a little one. And so when the Crawford County pageant came, my uncle told me he would give me $100 if I won the Crawford County pageant. And we were poor, and I had been going to the university as part of a program from my school where 4 of us were chosen out of my high school to start the university when we were 15. And so I went half a day to high school and half a day to the university in an accelerated program. And I really wanted to be able to go on to college, to university, but we didn't have a lot of money. And it would have meant a lot to me to win the $100 from my uncle. And this beauty pageant was a scholarship pageant. It was a subsidiary pageant of the Miss Pennsylvania pageant, which was also a scholarship program. And so I knew that if I got in it and I could get somewhere, that it would help me go to school. So that's why I did it, though I was very embarrassed and I didn't think I had any possibility of winning. And it was, and to really put this in its full form, it was at the county fair. And our county fair, given that we were in the country, was set up on platforms, and the farmers also brought all of their livestock. So as we were up on these platforms, walking around in the bathing suits that in those period were the kind that had the panel down in the front.
Yes.
You could also hear the pigs and the cows and the everything else in the background. Yeah, that's it.
Is it true that one of the judges said that you should become a fashion model?
Yeah, well, not in that one, but after I won and went to the Miss Pennsylvania pageant, where I was such a country bumpkin, so like I didn't know what was going on. And there were some girls in this pageant. I was 17, but there were girls that were like 26 who had moved from state to state and kept winning and coming back in an effort to become Miss America. And they were like professional pageanteers. And they had all kinds of fancy acts, like they sang with a ventriloquist doll, and they did special fire baton twirling, and they were like really fancy. And I didn't know what was going on.
Professionals, really.
Yeah, they were just great, and they had fabulous dresses with big things, I was like, and my roommate and I were both just like, we barely could walk down the thing. We didn't know. So when it came time to do the evening gown competition, my dear friend who had a dress shop in my town had gone to Pittsburgh, which was the big city, and got me a gown. And my gown happened to also come with a cape, which I wasn't supposed to wear. But by the time it was evening gown competition, I was like, I am never winning this. I just don't even care. So I put the cape on and walked down the runway like, boom, 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 spun around a couple of times, was like, hey, and went back. Because I was like, I'm not doing that whole thing because I don't know how to do that. So I did the big spin in the cape and went back. And one of the judges was like, hey, Chic is really good on the runway. And he told, after I didn't win, he told my parents, she is not good in the beauty pageant thing at all, but she would be a really good model. She has she's really could be photogenic, and she's really great on the runway. Not for beauty pageants, but she's good at that. And she should go to New York.
Amazing.
And try to be a model.
In 1977, just 4 days after leaving her hometown, Sharon Stone was signed by the Ford modeling agency in New York. In no time, she'd become a successful model, appearing in print and television ads for Clairol, Revlon, and Diet Coke. But for Stone, modeling wasn't it. She always wanted to be a big Hollywood star. Did you feel at that point that there was a change happening in your life? You're moving from Meadville to New York. It's the big city. You're in modeling, in fashion.
I always had this sense that I would have this other life. And as strange as it seems, when I was a child, I always watched these Fred Astaire, Ginger Roger movies. And I thought, I'm going to be a movie star, and I'm going to live in a house that you walk in and there's a spiral staircase, and you walk in and there's this foyer, and it looks like this. And now I live in that house, and I'm a movie star. And the more that I made the steps forward, the more calm and relaxed I felt. I never felt like, oh, it's happening, I'm nervous. Every step that became more of that destiny, the more I felt like, oh, okay, I feel better now. I remember that the night that we opened Basic Instinct in Cannes, And as I stepped into the red carpet and people started screaming my name, like 10,000 people started going, Sharon, Sharon. I looked around and I went, okay.
When you were now a fashion model, and you are now in Europe, you're going back and forth, you're doing all the things that models do, and traveling and so on and so forth.
At a certain point, I was like, I'm not supposed to be a model, I'm supposed to be an actress, let's get with it. And I turned around and went home and started doing that. It
Back
got
to New York.
better. Mm-hmm.
And you made that decision very quickly. Were you looking at fashion modeling as a stepping stone to what you wanted to really do, which was acting?
My mom felt that modeling was a good job for me to have, that I needed to have a job with an income while I pursued acting. 10-year-old Drew told me everything to do for the whole movie. She was like my helper. And then when we went to the premiere, I carried her on my hip down the red carpet.
Your early movies, you know, small parts in Stardust Memories, Deadly Blessing, all of these movies, was it tough to break in, even coming from modeling?
No, not exactly. I was modeling in New York. I was friends with a guy who was a casting director named Riccardo Bertoni, and he cast extras in movies, and he actually helped Sly Stallone get Rocky off the ground. And he was a darling, and he called me one day and he said, I'm casting the extras for a Woody Allen movie. Why don't you come over? And I always roller skated to my appointments in New York because I'm very athletic. And so I was roller skating. So I skated across town, and I had my book, and I skated into the line for the extras for Stardust Memories. And so there was this long line, and I skated up to the front, like, right? And of course, I was just gigantically tall on my skates, like 6'2", you know? So I skate up to the front, and I think it was Julia Taylor casting, and I handed her my book, and she looked through it, and she said, just a second, and she turned around, and behind her, sitting, was Woody Allen in this little bench, and she handed him my stuff, and I was like, oh, look at that. And he looked at all my stuff, and he handed her, and they whispered, and she said, Woody would like you to come and sit with him. And I was like, now? Yeah, so I put a trunk in my skates, you know, and I sat down next to him in the skates, and like, he's sitting there, and I sat down next to him, and he never spoke to me. Like, he didn't even say hi. So I sat there for like a half an hour, you know, and he's such a gigantic personality,
right,
you know, and legend,
yes,
but he never talked to me.
What was your first impression of Woody Allen?
Well, of course, I thought he was fantastic because he liked me. So it's now, I'm just about to go do my third movie with him in October.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is great, which is wonderful, it's exciting.
You went on to do Irreconcilable Differences with Ryan O'Neal. Your thoughts on Ryan and the movie?
Well, you know, it was so amazing because I came on the set the first day, and Drew Barrymore was 10, right? And we're doing this dinner sequence thing, and we were doing Ryan's close-up, and in the middle of the scene, I'm talking, and I kind of go like that, and Ryan's like, Sharon, you're putting your hand through my key light. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So, and he goes, so you don't put your hands up when we're doing my close-up? I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. And Drew leans over and she goes, Sharon, keep your hands in your lap. And she goes, and I memorized all your lines too. So if you don't know your lines, Just look at me, and I'll tell you what they are. I knew you're new, so I know all your lines and all my lines. So if you need to know anything, just ask me. And I was like, okay, good. So for the whole movie, 10-year-old Drew told me everything to do for the whole movie. She was like my helper. And then when we went to the premiere, I carried her on my hip down the red carpet. So it's very sentimental to me.
Janice Henry, War and Remembrance.
You know what? That director is an astonishing guy.